Now we're going to sing another song from this book, and this is one you can all join in with, not by singing, but by making noises like sniffing. Can you all sniff? Can you all sneeze? Can you all yawn? Ooh. And let's have one more, think of one more thing you have to do in the song. How about all giving a big gasp? Very good. We're just going to have a practice of the first verse. When you see a flower, do you sniff? When you see a flower, do you sniff? If it is a rose, a lovely smell goes up your nose when you sniff. When you sniff. Good. So that's just the first verse, and then there's lots of other verses as well. Okay, off we go then. When you see a flower, do you sniff? When you see a flower, do you sniff? If it is a rose, a lovely smell goes up your nose when you sniff. When you sniff. When you climb a hill, do you pant? When you climb a hill, do you pant? When you're at the top, I bet you're really glad to stop, and you pant. Yes, you pant. When you get a shock, do you gasp? When you get a shock, do you gasp? Somebody says boo, or there's a spider on your shoe, so you gasp. Yes, you gasp. When your birthday comes, do you puff? When your birthday comes, do you puff? Maybe you can blow the candles out in just one go when you puff. When you puff. When you've got a cold, do you sneeze? When you've got a cold, do you sneeze? Nothing you can do can stop it. Here it comes, achoo, and you sneeze. Yes, you sneeze. When you're feeling sad, do you sigh? When you're feeling sad, do you sigh? No one wants to play, and it's a cold and rainy day, so you sigh. Yes, you sigh. When you're feeling tired, do you yawn? When you're feeling tired, do you yawn? You grumbled when they said that it was nearly time for bed, but you yawn. Yes, you yawn. Do you snore? When you're fast asleep, do you snore? Have you got a snore so loud it wakes them up next door? When you snore. When you snore. Do you know, I've hardly sat down in my nice chair. I'm going to sit down in my lovely storytelling chair now because I thought some of you might like to ask me some questions. And so we've got another chair here. This is going to be the question chair. So if anyone's got a question they'd like to ask me, maybe about writing books or writing songs or about being the Children's Laureate, put up your hand and you can come and sit in the question chair. Would you like to come and ask the first question? And rest of you put your hands down and you get a chance to ask yours later on. All right, sit down first and say it in a big loud voice.
How did you get your inspiration for Princess Mirror-Belle?
Oh, for Princess Mirror-Belle. I'm glad you asked me about that one. I think I've got Princess Mirror-Belle. Poor Princess Mirror-Belle, she fell on the floor. Yes, for people who don't know these books, this is a story about a girl who comes out of the mirror and she's pretends, I think she's just pretending really, that she's a princess from a faraway country, and she gets the real life girl into lots and lots of trouble. The inspiration from that came from one of my sons, and when he was a little boy, he had an imaginary friend who lived in the mirror, and my son would look in the mirror, and instead of saying, "That's my reflection," he would say, "That's Sammy in the mirror." And sometimes when I wasn't looking, Sammy came out of the mirror and played with my son. And I never actually saw this happening, but Hamish told me that sometimes Sammy came out of the mirror and played with him. And that's what gave me the idea. Many, many years later, maybe about 15 years later, I thought, perhaps I could make a story out of that. But I changed the little boy into a girl, and I made lots of other changes as well. So that was a really good question.
Why didn't you write any more after the third one?
Well, I might. I would like to write some more, but it was quite hard thinking up enough mirrors for her to come out of, because in every story she comes out of a different type of mirror. Maybe you could have a think about another mirror and let me know if you get any other ideas, and then maybe I will write a fourth Princess Mirror-Belle book. Thanks very much. Who else would like to come and sit on the question chair and ask a question? And here's a girl over here. Would you like to ask the next question?
What age did you write your first book at?
What age did I write my first book at? Well, that's a slightly difficult one to answer, because my first book was A Squash and a Squeeze, but I wrote it when I was in my 20s, maybe about 25, and I wrote it as a song, and it was sung on a program called Play School on television. And then many, many years later, about 12 or 15 years later, someone phoned me up and they said, "Could we make the words of your song, A Squash and a Squeeze, into a book?" And I said yes. And so that was my first book. So I was older than 25 when it was made into a book, but I was probably about 25 when I wrote the words of it. Thanks very much. Any more questions? Yes, would you like to come and ask this next question? Can you get up there? Very good. And here's the microphone.
Why did you read The Gruffalo?
Oh, why did I make The Gruffalo? Well, I was going to write a story about a tiger, a little mouse who meets a tiger in the forest. But, you know, I couldn't get anything to rhyme with tiger. Nothing really rhymes with tiger. There's no such word as biger or kiger or diger or liger, anything like that. So I thought, if I make up an animal that things rhyme with, that'll make it easier for me. So I made up the Gruffalo because he rhymes with silly old fox. Didn't you know there's no such thing as a Gruffalo, you see. So that's why I made him up, really just so I could get things to rhyme with him. Thanks very much.
Why did you make the Stickman?
Oh, why did I make up Stickman? Right, I made up the story of Stickman. I'm just looking. See the Gruffalo's child? What's she got in her hand? A stick. It's not actually Stickman, that's her stick doll. But it was this stick doll which Axel drew in The Gruffalo's Child, which gave me the idea for the story about Stickman. Plus, my children always loved playing with sticks, so I think that came into it as well. All right, okay, thanks very much.